Off the grid campers, welcome to part 3 of the eFusionBlue video. This is the final part in the video, but not the least important, that's for sure. So we provide you with the eFusionBlue system, and we've proven to you that we use the best gear and we wire it up as safely as we possibly can, but without programming it such that everything talks to everything else and it's fully integrated and autonomous. It would make life very difficult for the end user, and of course we don't want to do that. In this high-tech world, it's great having all of this gear, but it's got to run seamlessly, and that is what this gear does do once it's been programmed. So that's our job, and I'm just going to show you a little bit on that process. We actually have a guide that we've written, and it's simply to make sure we do not miss any steps, okay? And we test everything, obviously, but we follow a very systematic procedure from programming the touchscreen on the other side, because it talks to all the components in the system, relaying state of charge, relaying temperatures, relaying all of the telemetry and you know, data through the comms cables. There's like a loom of cables that run back to the chrono on the other side. We'll walk around there in a minute. But in terms of programming all these devices individually, they all do need to be done, and we do that. The benefit being that when we remote in, and we can remote in, if you have a fault, we can check to see what fuse is blown. Like, you know where that is, but when we remote in, we'll also know where that is, and we'll know what it is. We'll know that that's battery 3. We'll know that this here is your inverter, this here is your MPPT, this here is your DC charger. Okay, so all that gets programmed inside. Your BMS, to a large extent, is kind of the brain of this system here. It automatically communicates the settings to other devices like your solar charger, like your DC charger. They do get programmed individually, but the BMS can communicate with them as well, to make sure that the current that is getting pushed into the batteries is what the batteries need, because it will increase or decrease current based on their state of charge. That stops the state of charge getting too low or overcharging. That's what the BMS does, and communicates with everything feeding into it. And so once it's all programmed, things like your solar, your rooftop solar, your deployable solar, you can have both running at the same time. You can be driving up the road and your DC charger sending charge into your camper, your rooftop solar sending charge into your camper, so that you might have left the last campsite at 50% battery, and when you arrive it's back to 100%. So you don't need to turn anything on and off. Again, that's the beauty of having it all programmed, and it runs safely, and it shuts itself off when it needs to, or, as I said, increases the current based on the demand that's required. So that is the beauty of the Victron system. It's not easy to program it, but the benefit is that it runs autonomously once it is done. So in terms of programming, we just log into each of these components. People can't access these from outside the camper. They need to snap a QR code. If you're wondering what those QR codes are, they take you into that component. Not that you need to, but that's what they're there for. And then there's a corresponding pin, so that people just can't hack in or anything like that. And then we Bluetooth in through the laptop, or we Wi-Fi in once it's all connected to our system here in terms of programming it, and we plug all these settings in. This is just the BMS we're logged into at the moment, and it's saying 81% state of charge of the batteries, and we'll see if that's correct when we go over the other side. But yeah, things like the discharge time, the tail current, things that don't sort of mean anything to a lot of people, they all get programmed in with the inverter. Things like, if the voltage was too low, it's going to disconnect from the main supply if you plugged into the main supply. If the voltage is too high, it's going to disconnect. So again, we program that range in. Again, battery settings, so the inverter is communicating with the batteries via the BMS. The whole system's integrated. So we'll go around the other side and we'll show you the receiving end of it. And this is more relevant to you guys in terms of monitoring, because this is basically what this screen does. The Acrano GX is your monitoring screen. So you can see the AC loads, that's the inverter turned on. PV's your solar coming in, we're undercover, so obviously there's no solar. DC is the DC loads on the system. If we turn something on like the fridge, you'll see it'll start drawing from the DC system. It'll jump up in a sec as you hear the motor turn on. Yeah, it shows you the state of charge. You can adjust the input current, so if you're plugged into a 15 amp site, you can change it to 15 amps. You can change it back down to 10 if you're plugged in at home. Only relevant when you want to plug into the grid. You can turn the inverter on and off here. And then you've got a device list that goes into a little bit more detail. It's showing you the temperature of the eFusionBlue systems at 29 degrees at the moment. I also probably should have mentioned around the other side, we have an automatic cooling system, so a fan will kick on once it gets to 30 degrees to extract the hot air from the electrical bay. So that's, again, all programmed, all automatic, no turning things on and off. So you've got the ability to know what's going on, and you can do that through the screen. You can also do it through your phone too. So logging into the BMS that we were logged into before, this is just going into it via Bluetooth, and we saw that it was 81% charge, and there it is there. These are all programming sections. Okay, so that's how we conclude this series, with the best gear set up as safe as it can be and programmed so that it's fully automated and easy for you to use. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this series, and we'll see you in the next video.